Hey, what's up? I wanted to share this little story with you because a lot of people use, I would say, pretty much anybody who has a car uses GPS. And it's so cool because you can literally get to any destination you want. You can make wrong turns, go backwards, and you'll always have the next right direction in front of you adjusted to you in real time. And that's a really amazing thing if you think about it, right? Because if you didn't have the next right adjustment or direction, and you had made a wrong turn, you would never course correct. You would never get to the destination. Let's say you somehow got turned around and you started going the other direction. If you didn't know how, if you didn't have a map and directions pointing you, bridging the gap from where you are on the map to that destination, then you would never get there, right? And so now, when it comes to maps and the GPS, here's another important piece of the puzzle. It doesn't work if it doesn't know where you are. If you're not on the corner of McGinnis and El Monte Way, and that's where the map is basing its starting point from, that map is useless to you, right? If you refuse to input into the map your starting direction, right? Like your starting point. And the cool thing now is it just automatically says, okay, you're here. It knows where you are, right? It locates you. And then it builds your directions based on that starting point. But, you can enter your starting point in there. And if you just were like, no, I'm not going to tell you where I'm starting from, then there's nothing to be done. And this is funny because maybe you've had this conversation where you're trying to give directions to somebody, right? And they just won't tell you where. You're like, okay, so what are you next to? Do you see how powerful this part of the puzzle is? What are you next to? Where are you right now? Instinctively, we know if we're trying to get somewhere, and we don't know where the person is right now, you can't tell them where, you can't help them get to where they want to go. And if the person refuses to just tell you, like look around and tell you a landmark or a street or an intersection that they're on, you're just like, you just throw your hands up like, what do you mean? Like, tell me what building you're next to. Tell me a street light or a street sign, right? Now, in any other area, and in this case, fat loss, we refuse. That's what we do. We refuse to start where we're at. We're just like, no, I just want to be there. It doesn't matter where I'm at right now. I just want to lose 40 pounds, or I just want to have a six-pack, or whatever it is. And when you really take a second to pause and think about it, you're like, well, how is that going to help? Like, it's not. It's very logical, right? So this is something that people don't think about is, where am I right now? Start right there, and then go from there. Also be clear on what your goal is, right? Sometimes people think they want something and they don't really know why and how it's actually impacting their life. Like, what's the point of doing what you're doing, right? And inherently, the point of doing anything is is for enjoyment. Anything you want to have or be or do, you want or to have it or be it or do it because you think you'll feel good in those things when you do those things or be those things. So these are things that people don't really think about, and which is why they're stuck in the Bermuda Triangle of shit and never, accomplish anything. And it's not that they're not capable, it's just they're not telling the GPS the two most important pieces of the puzzle. Where am I going? Is that really where I want to go? And where am I right now? Then we can make adjustments. So, the caveat here, or the warning is like, when you buy cookie cutter things, this is why I don't do anything cookie cutter. This is why each person that I work with, we start where they're at, and it's 100% individual, because the other way doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? Or it leads you somewhere where you don't want to go, or there's a lot of confusion because you don't really know where you're at, and so you don't build the right sequence of events or skills. It's just like, a random set of instructions that is not based on your starting point. And so you run into situations like this. I was talking to somebody, and he's like, oh man, I'm really tired. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I didn't eat. I haven't been eating until like 1 o'clock or whatever. And I'm like, why are you doing that? He's like, oh, I'm doing intermittent fasting. I'm like, that's cool. Why are you doing intermittent fasting? I don't know. So you're just doing it? Tell me, do you like doing it? It's like, no, I don't know, kind of sucks because I feel shitty. So then, come to find out, of course, the reason somebody does things is somewhere in their mind they think they're getting fat loss, and because that's what they've been told, or it sounds sexy and appealing, and but they never question it or check it or ask this question. Here's a great question. Am I getting closer to my goal or not? Or am I getting further? If you're not getting closer, then you might as well just stop. And you started doing intermittent fasting, you could just stop doing intermittent fasting, stop feeling shitty, stop wasting time, energy, and guess what? You'll still be you won't go further away from your goal. You'll still be where you're at. So you can remove this cognitive load and this brain power and the shitty feeling because you're not eating, and still be at where you're at right now. But we don't ask these questions for some reason when it comes to stuff like this. So, if I want to get leaner, then it is in my best interest to ask that question of like, well, what am I doing, and is it getting me closer? Because if it's not getting me closer, then I can stop doing it and then do something else. So I would say, hey, check what you're doing and see where you want to go, and then decide whether or not you're going to keep doing what you're doing. And this is why, like, when I work with people or when I talk with people, I've talked to so many people, and here's why, like, I'm able to get the results that I'm able to get, is because I ask these questions, and I only surround myself with people who will ask those questions of me. I'm not interested in being delusional and so I can be right. You know what I mean? I'm not interested in being famous. I'm not interested in having tons of followers and people thinking I'm an expert. I really don't give a fuck about that, because the only thing that I care about is getting closer to what I want. And in order for me to do that, if that means I need to be wrong once in a while, or wrong every day, but I could get closer, then I'm going to be wrong every day, because guess what? It doesn't matter what anybody thinks about me. All that matters is, am I getting closer to what I want? But what people do is they put more focus on what people think about them, and that they're right about something, over getting closer to the goal. So this is why, like, I can ask questions of people who want to talk to me or clients where it doesn't really matter. Like, what's your preference? I'm not trying to tell you to do anything. It's totally up to you. You want to be lean? Cool. Do you not want to be lean? Cool. But I'm not going to try to convince you of something. I'm going to try to ask you the questions that you already know pretty much what needs to be done. It's just a matter of making the bridge from where you are to there. And that doesn't happen without these types of questions. So that's what I'll leave it with right now. Figure out where you want to go. Find out where you are right now and build the bridge from there to the destination. Course correct along the way. Don't just arbitrarily do things. Right? Don't arbitrarily do intermittent fasting if you haven't gotten any closer to your goal, plus you feel shitty. And that's what I do for my clients, and that's why they get such amazing results, is because they learn how to think. It's not, all the information is out there. Information is not the missing ingredient anymore. You can Google everything and find all the right information. You really can. And you might have the right information already. What's preventing you from, why is your behavior not changing? That's the question.